and welcome to The Mentors. I'm Shireen Bhan. Now, through this series, India's biggest and most influential CEOs don the hat of a mentor and guide the nation's brightest B-school minds on their path to entrepreneurship. Joining us today as mentor is a man who's known as the father of the Indian IT sector, the co-founder of technology giant Infosys, NR Narayana Murthy.
Let's take a quick look at who the students are.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. It's an absolute honor for all of us to get a chance to speak to you face to face.
No, I think it's a pleasure and a delight for me to meet you people, because at the end of the day, the only way we can secure the future of this country is by creating more and more opportunities for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs convert ideas into jobs, ideas into wealth, and the only hope this country has of solving the problem of its poverty is through creation of jobs, which is through encouraging entrepreneurs. And the couple of you who are into social entrepreneurship are in fact going a step further, in the sense that there is tremendous need in this country for us to be aware of the less fortunate ones,
Exactly.
and to provide whatever help that can be provided.
What are the three most important decisions which you consider in your life have made what Narayana Murthy is today?
Upholding meritocracy. In other words, choosing the right man for the right job, making sure that the most competent person is given the opportunity. Second, to ensure that every action of mine is based on a certain value system. Fairness to me is most important. Fairness, transparency, accountability, then honesty, etc., etc. And third is the use of data and facts in coming to every decision. The good thing with using data and facts is that even if somebody lost a specific transaction, a specific decision, he or she would know that they didn't have the right data, and therefore next time they would come back with a better data, and they also will have confidence that next time I can win this transaction, because there are no biases.
Sir, what do you think about the current educational curriculum and the pedagogy, and what do you think are the changes that can be made so that more and more entrepreneurs come into the picture in the future generations?
Now, the biggest lacuna in our education system is the lack of focus on relating what we learn in the classroom to the real world outside. It starts with primary school. It doesn't start at the undergraduate level. So when we teach children physics, when we teach chemistry, mathematics, geography, history, etc., we have to relate what we teach children to the reality around us, to the real world around us, how things work in the real world, etc., etc. If we did that, then our children will start developing a problem-solving orientation. If you develop a problem-solving orientation, then when you grow up, when you want to be an entrepreneur, you will recognize problems much more easily than today. And your mind would say, here is this problem and I'm going to solve this problem this way. And therefore, there will be much more incentive for people to become entrepreneurs. That's what I will say.
Sir, a lot of our peers in B schools want to pursue entrepreneurship, but they shy away because of the risk involved.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to such young entrepreneurs about when is the right time to take the plunge?
You know, if there is one country in the world which has tremendous opportunities for entrepreneurship, it is India. Almost, in my opinion, there is no other country which has as many problems as India has. Wherever you see, there are problems around us.
That's true.
And most of these problems will bring you a certain revenue. If you solved it, if you provided the benefit of your ingenuity in solving that problem to the people, you will get revenues. So therefore, I would say there is no need for our youngsters to be so concerned about the risk that is involved in becoming an entrepreneur. At the end of the day, let us remember one thing: nothing ventured, nothing gained. And rewards are always related to the kind of risks you take. But I would modify that word risk to say doing business boldly. What it means is you list all the possible risks, think of how you mitigate those risks, and then you move ahead.
Talking about risk, if you would have noticed in the current time, aggregators are solving a major pain point which is there in the industry today. And the banning of Uber in Delhi, what do you think the impact of that will be there on the entrepreneurs who are looking into getting into such a sector for starting new ventures?
In my opinion, Uber is one of the most useful entrepreneurial ventures that the world has.
Exactly.
I have used Uber in San Francisco, in London, in Bangalore. I'll be able to track, where is this taxi, where is this guy, when is he coming, all of that. That never happened before Uber. So therefore, I hope our bureaucrats will understand the power of this kind of venture and not do something that is not desirable. What happened in Delhi is nothing to do with Uber. It is the failure of law and order. It is the failure of the policing system. It is the failure of the value system of us Indians. It is the failure of the parents to bring up their children properly. So let us not blame Uber for that. It is, yes, Uber will certainly vet their drivers better. But at the end of the day, you expect every society to have a certain level of decency, certain level of courtesy, certain level of harmony.
Sir, from a personal note, just a few weeks ago we were trying to close our first seed round, and a lot of people in the industry told us, raise as much money as possible right now because you may not have the same opportunity again. So you've been an investor yourself, and why do you think it is so difficult to raise money in India as compared to the Silicon Valley?
No, I don't think it is difficult to raise money in India. If you have an entrepreneurial idea which you can communicate very clearly in a simple sentence and convince the investors that you have a differentiated business value proposition compared to all other existing ideas, in some way your idea is better, I can assure you that there will not be any problem for you to raise money. The problem we find as investors is our youngsters are not able to convince us the business viability of their idea.
So just adding to that, I personally feel that there is much more to investors than just their money. And so
absolutely, yeah.
So when do you think is the best time to approach investors, and how can we choose our investors more wisely?
No, I think first of all, you must express the differentiated business value proposition of your idea in a simple sentence, not a complex sentence, not a compound sentence. That's number one. Second, you must do a small test marketing of your idea. It could be a thought experiment. It could be based on discussions with people. But you must be fairly well convinced that this idea of yours is a viable idea. that is the time when you can go to angel investors, and you will get angel money to prepare a good business plan and do some kind of further test marketing and all of that. And then you will get the early stage investors coming in, the mezzanine people and the late stage. So I would say that that's the way to go.
Sir, talking about the development sector, close to 70% of Indian population is still living in rural India. And if you are to start up a new venture leveraging information technology in those villages, what would that be?
No, first of all, I tell you, the communication facilities in rural India are still not developed. Even in cities in India, whether it's Mumbai or Bangalore, the speed of internet is so slow. You know, it's very, very difficult. It's very painful to use internet. So therefore, I would say that anybody who wants to bring the power of IT to rural India has to think of a hybrid model where you provide the benefit of IT in an offline mode first. As and when the internet infrastructure improves, as and when the communications infrastructure improves, then probably you could provide online services. So think of that. You have several opportunities. You have the opportunity for in the area of agriculture, in healthcare, in market access. In news, specialized form of news. So they in micro insurance. So there are many opportunities.
What is your take on crowdfunding platforms in India?
I tell you, the crowdfunding and all of that, they are all esoteric ideas. But I think it's better always to go to a well-known investor, because they provide more than just money. They connect you with key prospective employee network. They connect you in some cases with key prospective customer network. They will guide you quarter after quarter after quarter and help you navigate that path. So I would say that if you have a good idea, as I said before, if you can articulate the power of that idea clearly, I think money is not an issue.
So since we are talking problems in starting up, one of the problems that I faced and a lot of my friends who are entrepreneurs now have faced is they all come from a middle class background, and it's very difficult convincing our parents on the kind of path we are going to take, especially once when people like me have spent a lot of money on a B school education, and then we want to explore something where you're not very sure as to what is going to happen in the next year or two. So is there some word of advice you can give to parents today so that they can be more encouraging maybe?
Well, the reality is simply this. The parents want you to lead a comfortable life. The way to satisfy them would be perhaps to make yourself reasonably comfortable in terms of their expectations, in terms of your financial position, and that is where I think venture capital people come into the picture. If you get a reasonable income, as an entrepreneur, you should not expect to get huge returns today, because entrepreneurship is all about deferred gratification. It's about sacrifice today and big returns tomorrow. But that does not mean that one has to starve. That does not mean that one should put his or her children through difficulty. So reasonable compensation is accepted by venture capitalists today. There is no problem. So therefore, the parents need not worry that our son will be in penury if he or she becomes an entrepreneur.
Sir, adding on to that, when you first started your venture, Softronics, it was not as successful as Infosys today.
Yeah. No, it was not successful at all.
So
you're being very kind.
So what motivated you to leave your job again and found Infosys? Like, what was the motivation?
No, you see, I realized within 8 months that India was not ready for software development. That's when I did some homework, I discussed with people outside, and I realized that if I want to succeed in IT services, then I have to look at export markets. And just focusing on India will not be good. I will not be able to scale up. That's why I pretty quickly gave up that idea, and then I said, if for me to get into export market, I should understand how export works, I should understand how corporations work, I should understand what are the issues in succeeding in the export market, and that's exactly what I did.
So what do you think about the current market? Like, we are doing a lot of low value add services and currently when we talk of IT, but higher value add services like consulting are generally not coming to India.
No. I think this is another misnomer. See, the per capita GDP of India is today is hardly $1,500. Infosys has somewhere around $55,000 or $60,000 per employee. That is 40 times the per capita GDP of India. Why do we say low? I don't understand.
I was talking in the perception about the IT industry as such. Lower value addition and higher value addition.
No. I don't agree with that. I'll tell you, when you get, let's say, a very good car for half the price, you're very happy? You don't say it's low one?
Obviously. Yeah.
So why do you say if we in India, because we live in India, because the expenses here are lower, we are able to give customers good quality at half the price, what is the problem? Why are we saying low?
Sir, as B school students, we always discuss. Recently, Mr. Raghuram Rajan made a statement that India should focus on make for India rather than our government's focus on make in India. We students always discuss that which one should be given more importance, make for India or make in India. What is your take on that?
No. I think most developing countries, particularly in Asia, which have moved to newly industrialized nations, which have brought tremendous prosperity, they focused on exports because in the case of a developing country, at initial stages, the disposable income is low. Therefore, the market is not there. And if you want to create disposable income, then you must look at export markets and create jobs here with better and better disposable income, and then they will start buying. So therefore, you need both make in India, which is for exports, and make for India, which is the domestic market.
As entrepreneurs, businesses are like babies for us, and it's very difficult to detach yourself from something. So how do you plan to detach yourself from Infosys and move on, or in general, in fact, how can entrepreneurs leave something good behind so that they can take something bigger and better ahead?
No, I've already detached, but it's, you see, the company that you found is like your daughter. You bring her up with lot of affection, she grows, and then she finds somebody smarter, younger, more capable, and then she goes off with him. That's good for her. That's good for everybody, right? So therefore, there will have to be a certain grace in us, the entrepreneurs, just as there is a lot of grace among parents when they see their daughter getting married to some youngsters, right? It is painful to see that the daughter leave home, but you say this is good for that child, this is good for that daughter, exactly that way.
We would like to thank you for such an engaging
Pleasure.
session. It
Pleasure.
was really enlightening. And we, as future entrepreneurs, we definitely liked your session a lot. And thank you very much for the session.
Thanks a lot. It was my pleasure.
Mr. Murthy, as always, thanks so much for taking time out to join us on our show. That was truly inspirational and awe-inspiring, not just for the students featured on the show, but for millions of others who are watching the program. That's a wrap on this episode of The Mentors. Till next week, from the entire CNBC TV 18 team, thanks very much for watching.
It was great, and it was once in a lifetime experience for me to come over here and talk to a visionary like Mr. Narayana Murthy.
The part where he said about power of ideas, because I think that instills more confidence in me that, problems like venture capital and whether the market is available or not, all these things are put aside if you have a great idea that you can execute on. So I think that would be my key takeaway.
The key takeaway would be the power of an idea. I'd always believed that getting capital is an issue. But with this interaction, I think that it is about that idea which you want. Capital would come your way. So money is something which will flow your way if you have a good idea. And having a good idea is the thing which I would focus on next.